Cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, today I have with me Vishnu Vankayala, CEO and founder of CustomerLabs. He has been closely working and observing the evolving data privacy landscapes within the ad platforms like Meta and Google Ads. He has also been an advocate of first party data from a very long time. So, just to give an overview, Custom Labs helps businesses navigate the complexities of data management, especially in advertising with regards to first party data, while the help businesses rock and roll their ad campaign performance. Okay, thanks Vishnu for joining me today.
Hey Gautam, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
All good, Gautam, all good. I think this has been long overdue. We're supposed to do a lot of this going forward.
Yeah, I was not able to get your time.
Okay.
Anyway, so Vishnu, there's one, the reason why we are talking today is because there's one very major happening that I've been seeing in Meta ads, which is which you might already know about. So restrictions of custom events in especially the health and wellness brand.
Yep.
So I would like to understand. Basically, I understand that Meta is slapping these restrictions over business in majorly health and wellness industry. So how do you see this move by Meta?
So ideally, I'll tell you what's been happening for almost a while now. So Meta has been trying to bring this, not only Meta, right? So most of the ad platforms trying to bring these restrictions a lot. I think I saw this course set up almost in the month of October 20, October or July 2020 or something. So that's when I started looking at this messaging called course setup. So what course setup ideally means is uh, you cannot share the data of the users, very sensitive data. Okay. So whenever we say there is a sensitive data, there are two aspects to this sensitive data. One is PII, okay,
Mhm.
and the second one is PHI. And the PHI gives a context about the user. For example, let's say I go and start browsing something related to hair related problems. So now, as an algorithm, when I started browsing these data, uh, eventually you would have all this information about myself that I'm looking for a health related problem. Okay.
Mhm.
And with new policies and privacy things coming in, what happened is uh, the, there is a huge loss, and the lawsuits keep on happening in US at this point, saying uh, there is no way you can share that PHI. And then this HIPAA compliance came in quite aggressively. After this HIPAA compliance, Facebook said, "Okay, fine. Look, I don't want this kind of data." So that's the whole reason behind this. So the reason behind this is HIPAA. HIPAA is the reason why this restriction has gone really aggressive. There was a restriction in 2018, which is GDPR, and that goes with consent. Okay, if I consent, I will process. With
Mhm.
PHI, even if there is a consent, you cannot process,
Oh.
especially tools like Facebook and other places. So basically, even if I say, okay, use my data, you cannot use my data for advertising purposes or other purposes, although there is a consent coming from the user, especially with PHA. Okay, which is fair. I don't want to share my personal details with anyone, uh, especially for advertising purposes, right? So if it's a clinical trial or if it's anything else, that's like okay, okay. But for advertising purposes, I don't want to share the data, especially about my health-related information.
Mhm. So I understand this entire thing why Meta has brought in these restrictions, but was this? It's a very thumping slap on these businesses which are in health and wellness. Do you think this is a very necessary step, or Meta could have taken a different approach so that the advertisers do not face this much of a thing? Because it's not just the advertisers, but all, especially the performance marketers, not just the business alone, who are facing these roadblocks or restrictions. So do you think Meta could have done something more better?
I mean, I honestly cannot speak a lot about Meta. There's a big business and there's a lot of restriction coming around from the privacy from the consumers. I think what Meta is doing in terms of how they want to process the data is purely up to them. Even if you take Google, not just Meta, even if you take Google, you cannot even retarget people with
Mhm.
health-related information, right? So with this in hand, how do you eventually wanting to go? So what Meta is doing in terms of respecting the privacy, I think I think it's for the good. That's how the company should be. So they should respect the privacy. But at the same time, what Meta is doing is, I think there is a clear miscommunication of how the data or how the events can be transformed. Especially now we are talking very primarily about performance marketers.
Mhm.
The major aspect here is there's a misinformation. So it's not that you cannot do, but if you carefully uh, set up the systems, you still be able to do the advertisement. You still be able to get the performance. Maybe a less performance, but there will still be a performance coming in. But that's understanding is what we supposed to do with the performance market. So it's not like end of the world, but you cannot share the data. Period. That we all agree. Okay, you agree. I agree. Meta agrees. Government agree. Even the consumer agree. Now that you cannot share my PHI data, how else can we actually train the algorithm that this is the kind of people who would be benefiting out of the services we are doing? The services could be skincare products, the services could be wellness products, it could be gut related, whatever that health related product, it's still better, right? So, take for example, let's say there is a person who is seriously ill and there is a medicine out there. And if only we are able to create awareness about that particular medicine to that particular user, it's still better, right?
Yeah.
So you still have to create awareness, but you have to draw a line saying, okay, share this, but not share this. So that's how we should see it. At least that's how I want to see this. So respecting the privacy is important, but at the same time, creating awareness about the products what we have. If we generally think that product is going to save them from that illness, is very very important.
That's like an I would say a right approach. What you tell first party data, it's not like you have to completely forget about advertising, but you have to take a very privacy first approach, the first party data approach, to get this done. I'll definitely come to the solution part at the end, but before that I would like to know a few things which I have been seeing across LinkedIn on the same thing. So what I see most frequently is that the custom events, like you said, can still be sent, but in case if the business is not already restricted, they have to approve the custom event explicitly by verifying that in the events manager and all that. So when Meta is giving this option for business to already approve the custom event by looking at the data they are passing through that custom event and the way they name the custom event, so looking at all of these, what do you think? I mean, is it the right way, or what are your thoughts on this approach that most of the business are taking, and the approach that Meta has taken for businesses who are not already restricted?
Well, let's take a step back, right, and understand what's going on right now and what to be shared and what not be shared, and we can then talk about this, uh, the custom events and stuff like that. So the first and foremost thing with with the wellness category or health and wellness category is basically the so you take a pixel, you put it in the website, and Meta tracks every single event out there. So it could be page view, it could be automated triggers, it could be few other uh, events. So you don't have to trigger any event, but Meta automatically would be Meta JavaScript would be able to track few events. Uh, let's take an example of a website.
Mhm.
Let me just share.
I love these explanations where you share your screen and show everything in detail. That's what makes me understand a lot of concepts in depth. For example, the other day I was
Yeah.
looking at how this first party domain and how this first party tracking works.
Absolutely. So let me just find a decent website. All right. So let's take a random example here. Let's go into uh, a website, right? So this one, okay. And what I'm trying to go here is, so this is a company which is doing XYZ products,
Mhm.
clearly wellness and health related products. And
Mhm.
what I'm looking at is I'm looking at certain products here.
Mhm.
Now, whenever I see this, what I'm looking at here is obviously you have
Oh.
these content IDs going on and
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
And here I clearly have this particular product name going on here as well. Okay, this
You
is
are.
in terms of a specific, very specific product. And let's look at, so that product is slightly okay, but now let's look at this particular product. Now I have clearly these in my
You are.
URL.
Mhm.
And now if you look at the payload of this,
Mhm.
so this particular payload, which sends a page view, which clearly starts having that particular information, right? So this is where what we want to do is we want to set this up in a very uh, clean way
Mhm.
where we won't send information. Right now, what Meta can actually do is Meta knows I logged into Meta right now. And Meta knows this is Vishnu, and Meta also knows I'm looking at this uh, strangely
Particular product.
this yeah this natural pregnancy kit. Now it would be able to do this 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So that's what we are trying to avoid right now by sending or by cutting out the PHI data. So when we
Oh.
look at it, we have this two graph. One is PII. PII is basically
Mhm.
it's Vishnu. That is PII. PHI is Vishnu is looking for this pregnancy, natural pregnancy kit. Okay. You
Mhm.
cannot add these two things together. That is what we are trying to restrict, or Meta is trying to restrict. Meta was expecting the businesses would be able to do a better job in sending the data. That okay, please don't send me this data. But businesses doesn't care. So Meta said, okay, fine. If you send me this data, I'm going to restrict you. As simple as that.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what Meta did. And Meta said the hard stand saying, please don't send me all this data. I'm getting into a mess. And I don't
Mhm.
want to get into the mess. And I want to be very, very clear about what kind of data I want to process. So they stopped doing it.
Mhm. So instead of collecting all the data and using only little data, it is trying to put the complete onus on the business owners itself to understand, to make the business comply with the laws and send only filtered data to Meta. So because Meta is a third party, so
Yeah.
it doesn't want to take the data of a business's customers. Okay, makes sense.
It doesn't want to get into legal trouble. So that's the idea, right? So now to going back to the previous question, right? What Meta could have done better in this angle while supporting the performance marketers and making sure the privacy goes is they could have added a little bit more flexibility in how we can share the data with Meta, right? Okay, if you are categorized in this way, make sure you share it like this. Okay, make sure your payloads look like this. Okay, keep it really clean, and this is exact data of how you should send, and please don't send these data. Okay, that's how Meta should have actually process this is at least my opinion. And the moment Meta would have actually given that clear instructions, we still can create awareness about this product to the people. But at the same time, you can stop or restrict this kind of data sending it to me. So if you are able to get that done properly, it would have been really, really nice. But now that Meta is not clearly telling what is expected, what is not expected, and stuff like that, uh, where we need to figure out solutions by brute force or by eventually doing a lot of A/B testing.
Yeah, though there is uncertainty, Vishnu, I have seen that Meta has clearly specified that the prohibited information or parameters must not be shared via the custom events. And I think, let me share my screen and show you this. I have come across this while I was doing a little bit of research where they have. Can you see my screen, Vishnu?
Yeah, I can now.
So when they talk about this prohibited information, like you mentioned, so in the examples of prohibited information, they have given these information about an individual's physical or mental health, such as the diseases, medical conditions, sexual and reproductive health, mental health, and all of these things. So as long as you're not sending these prohibited information, you can happily send your custom events. Does that what it means? Or and that is what is Meta emphasizing on, giving the complete responsibility on the advertisers so that they ensure that they are not sending these sensitive information. So that is what I understood from all our conversations until now from the beginning. Now I'm very curious, how would you, as in Customer Labs 1PD Ops, helps businesses in the healthcare and wellness industry with all of these going on around?
Okay. So let's take two steps back. First, we need to understand how the meta algorithm works. So, what is this events manager, and how this whole thing works? So, that's the first and foremost thing we need to look into.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you build a machine learning model, uh, there are two aspects to it. So, one is obviously, so whenever you run a campaign, there's something called as learning. And what this learning is basically is you take up a model, and the model is trying to put together all the columns, which we generally call it as features, and they're trying to see if this particular person or group of people would be able to take that particular event. So that's what we call it as event. Now, what Meta says is you can send me those custom events, which is like Meta doesn't actually say that, but there is a workaround. The workaround is basically send this out, this custom event, which is coded for your business. It can be A, it can be B, it can be anything as you want, but nothing descriptive or even the machine cannot read. So let it put this way. Let's say you're going to have a purchase and you're going to hash the purchase in 256 uh, coded way and send out this purchase name as an event. So let's hash that. Okay. And then you send that event. Well, sending that event, again, if you look at it, what are the kind of parameters we send along with the event? Because while you're sending the event, unless you send multiple other parameters, the event doesn't make sense. So you have to send multiple other parameters. If the event is coming from the website, you have to send it as website. The moment you have the website, you should have the link. But when you send the link, you make sure you don't send the actual URL, but just the domain name. So let's say, for example,
Oh.
customerlabs.com/wellness product. You take off the wellness product, just send customerlabs.com as a link URL. And number two, once you do that. And number two, what you can do is obviously you want to hash all the data about email, first name, last name, etc., etc. And then when you send the same data in the custom parameters, make sure you don't send anything. So, for example, whether it is a product name, whether it is a XYZ, you just leave all the context inside that particular custom event and add only probably currency and value. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
uh, so that you don't send any PHA data about that particular event into that customer. So when you have this event, you have two information in that event, right? Let me just see if I have any logs here.
Mm-hmm. So as far as what I understand is, we have to give the event data to Meta, but not give the context to it.
Yeah,
So that is when Meta will think, okay, fine, I'm safe. I don't have any data of your context or contextual data of your audience, so I'm safe from my side.
absolutely. So as long as you don't give the context, you are not uh, you're not sharing any health information data to anyone. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's very important that you avoid sending the context when you send the data. So when you look at the actual payload, you will have like something called custom data, and then you
Mhm.
have content. The content can be sent with some products, and then you have the user information, and then you have event name. So you send the event name, you send the user traits, but at the same time, you make sure you don't send the contents, which is like, let's say, diabetes uh, or I don't know, whatever that is health related. It can be
Mhm.
cut short and send it out. While also sending it, you make sure you send only the full-fledged URL, uh, uh, not the full-fledged URL, but only the link, the domain name alone. So as long as you're doing it, I don't think you should have any problem in sending the data back into Meta.
Mhm. Okay. I think you were showing something, a product screen of how you
Yeah,
guys
I want to show it, but I'm restricting to it at the moment because I couldn't find that data masked. I didn't mask it,
are.
so yeah,
Okay,
I didn't want to share it at this point.
cool. I'll definitely take that from you and share it in the blog. Probably write a blog
Yeah,
on this entire thing, and then we can share it with the audience over there.
absolutely, absolutely, because I didn't mask it yet, so it
Yep.
makes no sense to share that.
So now I understand one thing from what you told about removing the context, removing everything. So it's like the businesses will collect their user data, the first party data, and they will have the full control over the user, and then send to Meta only what is needed for Meta, not the entire data that they collect. So it is basically that businesses should prioritize first party data. And I have also looked at some of the LinkedIn posts where they tell that a health and wellness brand comes up and tell, I mean, basically the performance marketer comes and tells, okay, my business is not affected by these whatever restrictions Meta is posing. So I assume that these businesses have already prioritized 1PD ops or the first party data ops, and that is why they are facing less, or maybe they are not facing any restrictions. Does this confirm that moving forward every business should comply with this privacy first approach, or should comply with the data privacy laws and adopt to a first party data ops strategy?
See, every business has to follow the law, clear and simple. Okay, and every business cannot share the data which they cannot share the data, right? And if any business is not seeing that restriction yet on the ad account, they will definitely see it in due time. Okay, so it's hardly 10 days, and we have already seen a lot of people going in, and they will definitely see that restrictions coming into their business quite soon or the later. Okay, now it doesn't mean that you would be able to stop advertising at all when the restrictions are in place in a uh, clear manner. So if the restriction on one day comes and says, okay, look, you cannot send any data to anyone, then that's it. Every business should be closing their advertising accounts on ad platforms. But that is not how the restriction works right now. Restriction says first the GDPR. Take consent. If they're consented, they're happy, please send it out. Fair enough. That is number one. Number two, don't send the PHA information. Okay, but elsewhere, if you want to send it as an event value currency, please send it, but don't send the PHA information. The PHA information can be sent, and uh, sorry, PHA information cannot be sent, but at the same time, the custom event can be sent with the data. Now you put all this together. What a business need or a performance marketer need is, I have a set amount of data with me, and there is a law, let's say DPTP coming in India. The law says this is the data you should send, this is the data you cannot send. And if you're in wellness, this is the data you should send, this is the data you cannot send. Okay. And if you're in, I don't know, some XYZ company, any data you cannot send. Okay. Now, as a performance marketer, if someone understand all those things well and enough, and what they should really, I mean, they have to understand, and they need to have tools to control what they have to send and what they should not send. And when they decide to send something, they should be able to do it. So I'll give you a small example. I was speaking to a friend who used to work in one of the biggest IT services company, and they follow something called tag governance. Okay, so tag governance is basically a quite simple concept. When you decide to send the data to someone, okay, I think you and I were looking at this DPDP and we talked about consent manager, right? So
Mm-hmm.
consent manager is equal to data protection officer.
Yep.
So, uh, so you decided not to send X amount of data, but if you install a pixel, okay, it could be any ad platform pixel for that matter, and you have no idea what the tracking is going on there, okay.
Yeah.
And what you need is a strong system which actually can help you send XYZ, do not send XYZ. This is exactly what we should, what we are actually building. And that process is what we call it as 1PD ops. So this 1PD ops is quite quite easy, right? So for example, I'm showing you here.
Mm-hmm.
This is our own kind of data. So we are looking at viewed e-commerce page, and this is the data we are sending for this particular event, viewed e-commerce page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also need a system which says, okay, if you don't want to send uh, XYZ data into the particular event, you should be able to restrict that information, and you should know which events are being sent and which data is being sent and which data is not being sent. Like for example, in the event attributes, we collect tons of data, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a first party, I need the data.
Yeah.
Okay, I need the data. If you're interacting with my business and I say this is my terms and this is my conditions and this is the privacy policy I'm going to use, I need the data and I'm collecting the data. Again, this is purely first party, right? So you're coming to the site, you're interacting with me. I'm saying this is what I need and this is what it is. This is the reason I need it. I clearly make the statement and I get this. So now I have all this uh, uh, information about users here. So we collect about 140 parameters here. But
Oh,
it's unfair to send this data to someone else,
yeah.
right? Knowingly and unknowingly. And if you're sending it unknowingly, that's when the lawsuits comes into play. So you
Mm-hmm.
should have strong systems which is going to restrict you from doing it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we call it as zero trust policy. So zero trust policy is basically saying, okay, we will restrict sending anything to you. And if you want to send XYZ, make sure you give that permission. Okay. So the concepts of data clean rooms, the concepts of primary data clean room is all about that. So we'll make sure we restrict everything by sending it. But at the same time, if you do want to send it, if it's actually legal to send it, you can still send it. Okay. That's how you should picturize it. So this entire process of what I'm talking about, collecting data, storing it, maintaining it, and activating the data is called 1PD ops. That's where we are actually trying to pioneer.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's a unexpected, very much needed concept that you explain for our audience. And I think every performance marketer, their role would now evolve. I can see, because it's no more only about optimization, no more only about running the campaigns. It's about also understanding how we handle this data and how you're sending this data and what kind of data you're sending. So this is something amazing and very much needed for the audience. I think they'll love this thing. But again, coming back to our primary discussion for now, because I want to have a elaborate detailed thing on one PDOps later on. But addressing the elephant in the room to summarize what all we are talking. So, what are the next essential steps that every business, let's not only take health and wellness, but also take every business in general, that they should take to navigate this new landscape of data privacy? Like, what immediate and also long term changes that you recommend for businesses to take to overcome this custom event optimization being restricted?
No, custom event optimization is not being restricted. What's being restricted is standard funnel, standard lower funnel events like add to cart or initiate checkout or purchase. Those are the ones which is being restricted, not the custom events. Custom
Okay.
events are not being restricted at this point. But
Mhm.
if you decide to send custom events cannot have a generic names. Like for example, it cannot have a disease name or it cannot have a very generic name like a purchased hair oil or purchased XYZ. It shouldn't be like that. So first, the optimization event should be a custom event. That is number one. Number two, only server side tracking, no pixel installed in the website. So you cannot have Pixel installed on the website. You should take off the Facebook Pixel by default. So only server-side tracking should be enabled. Okay, no matter what. That is number two. Number three, when you send the custom event, make sure you eventually uh, uh, remove the all the other parameters. The other parameters, like for example, what do you say, the URLs which we talk about, the content information which we talk about, the custom data which we talk about, every single thing we should simply remove. Just keep that event as light as possible and attach the PII, the hashed PII, which Meta calls just customer information parameters. That can be done, but make sure you don't send the information of PHA, no matter what. Okay. When I
Mhm.
say no matter, it's like 0% PHA should be should not be shared with Facebook. And third, uh, um, have a clear data monitoring policy, because you just simply don't know, and you don't want to be in a situation where you didn't want to do it, still it happened, but eventually you are in a position where the lawsuits coming in, all those things. And the last year alone, the US companies has faced huge amount of lawsuits just because of knowingly or unknowingly they were sharing the data with third party platforms, and that's the reason why the Meta had restricted this. And
Mhm.
this is the primary area where most of them do it. But then, if you need help, we customer app does all these things for you, and we also have a strong team which has been implementing these. Not a new age tool. We're talking about somewhere in 2024. We implemented this for one of the big. For the first time, I have seen this happening long time ago, and we have been doing it, and we have been successful, and they were able to run the campaigns, not maybe at the performance they were doing it before, but definitely still able to run at a good ROAS. I think about 2.8 or 3 ROAS, they're still able to continue running at this point.
Mhm.
These are all either lead generation, same problem, or the e-commerce, the same problem. So they should be able to adapt to these things. And when they do it, they should know what they're doing. So I don't think the performance marketers uh, at small medium businesses will go in depth, or at least they have the resources to go in depth to handle these things. And that's where tools like Custom Labs or platforms like Custom Labs would be able to help them out. And our team knows how to set these things done. We have a standardized formats. All they have to do is come and talk to us, one click, and they will be able to take. I mean, we'll be able to take care of all those things. And we are not an expensive tool like other HIPAA compliant tools. They don't have to spend thousands of dollars. It's uh, it's moderately priced. It starts at 99, and most of the lead generation customers we actually go through spend somewhere between 150 or $200 max. And this is what we can help. I mean, this is how we can help them out.
Cool, great. So, for businesses who are facing these restrictions, or everyone will be doing all of this, and I understand how Customer Labs is helping all the business, not just only enterprise, but your pricing, the way you might put it forward. It was, I think, every small and medium business will definitely not feel much heavy on their pockets with this. And I go back to a phrase where I can see that you're democratizing the 1PD ops space by helping businesses with collecting, processing, and sending data that is only relevant to Meta. And Meta, like you said, Meta Pixel should be removed. And Meta itself is not pushing Pixel more. It is telling set up conversions API and send the data to server side. And what we spoke so far is also completely aligning with this. Great, cool. So we don't know what comes forward, what Meta brings in, because as far as now we don't see any formal documentation on anything. But definitely we can hope, because every business is facing this, Meta will definitely come out with let's hope that Meta comes out with a proper documentation and all the recommendations of businesses. But before closing up, Vishnu, any thoughts that you would like to tell to our audience?
No, I think we all know. So there are two things happening. One is Meta is moving into AI, giving zero control. AI needs data, and Meta is restricting you to send the data. Now, what are you gonna do? Okay, so it's fun times, but at the same time, you have a choice to that what you want to send, what you don't want to send. Okay, you can still send contextless data. The context will be stored by us. At the same time, Meta understands from that particular context. So it's not like a dead end. We still have hope, but at the same time, we can do a very clear and privacy-centric business, privacy-first business. So adopting to 1PD ops is the primary angle. I know I keep saying this 1PD ops, 1PD ops, but uh, not as a sales pitch, but I genuinely think that's the ideal way to move forward for any performance marketer, because that is going to help to hit their business goals and their own personal KPIs as well. If they are not adopting to this, they will still be able to do it, but they have to go around the head to touch the nose. That's not something. If that's what they're choosing to do, they can. But there are multiple other easy ways to do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Vishnu, for your very insightful thoughts, I would say, and some of things which are very much near to the audience now, tomorrow, and moving forward. So, all the performance marketers out there, I am definitely sure you loved this session. It was a fun filled and more of a knowledge filled as to save your careers and save your businesses goals. So, if you want to know more and discuss more about this 1PD ops or see how you can implement your strategies for your businesses and to stay forward in the privacy centric world, join our 1PD ops community. I'll ensure to save the link in the description below. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
And before you close this, regarding this community, if you go there, there is a one question. I run a health clinic. How can I still do it? Uh, that was a post there. So
Oh,
uh, people are looking for solutions, and people are trying to solve this. Okay.
yeah, you'll get the answer for that question there in the community. Please join.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, Gautam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.